I wrote some little notes before I start saying this, but many, many years ago, I worked for the Sheriff Department and did it for 35 years. So most of us have endured a lot. Still under all the conditions that we used to work, still the conditions we're working on right now are still there, present. But many things have changed through the years, and I'm very proud to say that. From the beginning, deputy sheriffs used to be hired just with a note, and I still remember when Lucille Herring, who used to be our chairwoman in Liberty, gave me a note and I got hired, and that was it. No police academy, even though I did have it. Nothing like that. The conditions we used to work were terrible. Our cars used to fall apart. We used to answer calls, and half of the time we never got to our destinations because the car never made it. But we don't see that anymore. The leadership of the Sheriff Department today is Sheriff Mike Schiff. This body of legislators have changed a lot. I remember in 1985 when they shut us down in the jail and they told us we cannot operate anymore. But we have a new jail, and pretty soon that jail will be open. And hopefully, each one of you sitting here will have a decent contract, and we hope to keep you all. I don't think the public ever realizes what we go through, the daily hours that we work there, the burden that we become to our family because we're working. But even under those conditions, we still do the job. And I still consider myself to be part of the team that first started me in this county. I was honored, very honored, my entire life to carry that badge and say, I'm a deputy. Today we want to honor the Sullivan County Sheriff Patrol for his 50 years of service. And I would like to ask, Dan, where are you? Right here. I would like to, if you can just come up here first, Mr. Sheriff. Dan has a presentation of something that we thought was forgotten and gone, but this can tell you a little bit more about the story of the Sheriff Patrol.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dan Ratner. Going back more than 50 years ago, my father was a 5-term sheriff in Sullivan County. He initiated the road patrol and initiated the first construction of the upper level of the new jail. Back then, when my father was elected, they didn't just elect the sheriff, they elected the entire family because we lived across the street in 10 Bank Street. We did the errands, the mowing. My mother was a cook. I remember opening number 9 cans for the inmates with a big can opener. So the Sheriff's Department to me, isn't just an agency. It's a remembrance of my history and my family. One of the things that was accomplished during my father's term was, when my father was elected, he was the first sheriff on the fee system, similar to a Mexican police officer. He wasn't paid. He got a car, a house, groceries, and whatever the fees collected were used to budget and run the Sheriff's Department. Down the road from that, he was the first sheriff to be paid by Sullivan County. They had no retirement, and there were no real deputies at the time. There were special deputies who were deputized as needed to transport inmates to the prisons throughout the state. There wasn't much of a holding there at that time. But in 1970, my father and other members of the Sheriff's Association pushed and were able to have the sheriffs and what they called regular deputies now included in civil service with full benefits and retirements. And I have the original law here penned by Governor Rockefeller and signed by him in hand. I've had it for a long time, kind of disappeared, and when the Undersheriff Eric called me the other night and told me about this, I went looking for it, and I think at first I told him I wasn't going to give it to him, but I think the proper place is in the new jail. It's a christening and a redirection for the Sheriff's Department, which is so important to this county. And under Mike's leadership and Eric's, I certainly know, and I can speak for my father, that he would be immensely proud of these two gentlemen and all the men and women that serve with him. Mike, I want you to have this, find a place for it. I appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you,
Eric,
Dan.
thank you.
Thank you. As Dan alluded to, his father, Lou Ratner, was sheriff, a five-term sheriff, and he's most famous for his operations at Woodstock. He was quoted in Time magazine when they asked him, how was everything up there at Woodstock? And Sheriff Lou Ratner said they were the nicest bunch of kids you ever want to meet. That was his quote in Time magazine for the Woodstock Festival in 1969. But going back to 1968, there had always been deputies kind of on patrol. John Conway writes stories about Murder Incorporated in the 30s, and you always see in his stories Trooper so-and-so and a deputy so-and-so showed up to look at a body. But there was no formal road patrol as a budget item in the Sullivan County budget until 1968. So what happened was the hotels were at their peak in the mid to late 60s, and there were many calls for service, and Sheriff Ratner decided it needed to be a separate entity within the Sheriff's Office. So 1968, he officially created the Sheriff's Patrol. So this year we celebrate our 50th anniversary.
I'd like to thank Dan Ratner for allowing us to own this for a little while. I don't know if we have it permanently. And just like to say that it's an honor for me that the people of Sullivan County have entrusted us to lead an agency like this with such a proud tradition. And hopefully we continue that, and I'm sure we will. And thank you for honoring the division with that. Thank you.
I would like to.
I thought you were.
Oh, you're the chairman.
This Distinguished Achievement Award, presented to the Patrol Division of the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office in recognition of our patrol officers' half-century commitment to the safety and security of the people of Sullivan County, exemplifying the highest ideals of justice and professionalism. Thank you for 50 years of unswerving service. Given in admiration, gratitude, and celebration this September 18th, 2018, signed by the Legislature.
Thank you very much for recognizing us, and appreciate your confidence. Thank you.
This next one for me is a great honor. Like I've always said, I was ready to retire, and the sheriff calls me and he says, what will take you to stay for a little bit longer? And I just joked and told him in Calico Center, we were at that festivity, yeah, why don't you just promote me? And he did. He made me a lieutenant that same week. And as I became a lieutenant, they were going to make a new sergeant. So this corporal came and approached me and kind of took my badge away from me, and he said, well, I'm the next sergeant. May I please have your badge? And he did. He took my number, took the badge for him. So what a great honor today for me to honor him. Blake Starner, in recognition of your standfast discharge of your duties amidst and the most challenging and difficult circumstances, demonstrating uncompromised professional and compassion. It's a great honor that I present you with this certificate of service.
Okay, so everybody's scratching their head. Why did we honor Blake Starner today? Well, aside from doing an outstanding job for the Sheriff's Office and being a great supervisor, most recently on September 3rd, which was Labor Day, Sergeant Starner was on his way down to Wirtsboro. He was working on a background investigation for an applicant who has applied to work at the sheriff's office, and he gets on 17 at exit 105, going eastbound, and all of a sudden, he sees an accident that just occurred. If he had been 5 seconds earlier, he would have been in the accident. And at the accident scene, a vehicle that was traveling westbound crossed the median, hit another car head-on, and people were ejected. There were bodies and debris all over the road. It looked like a plane crash. And Sergeant Starner sprung into action. And just to give you an idea of what deputy sheriffs go through out there every day, I've got Alex Rao, the 911 coordinator. He has the recordings from that day to give you an idea of what went on at that scene.
Now on. 5-2. Got injection and entrapment. I need help now. Bergman, if we have everybody dispatched over there, we'll get the medevac on standby as well, the ejection and entrapment. How many patients you got, 5-2? How many injuries you got there? I got at least 4, 2 entrapped, and the car is getting on fire.
So Sergeant Starner kept a cool head, triaged the scene. It was a 5-year-old that was ejected. A picture appeared on Facebook of him performing CPR. The picture was very inappropriate given the severity of the scene, and we asked the administrator of that page to take it down, which they did. But for those who saw that picture, it was very dramatic. So the sheriff and I would like to congratulate Sergeant Starner on his duty to the people, his dedication to the people and citizens of Sullivan County. Sheriff Schiff.
Yeah, I would just like to preface, we were asked if we had someone that we thought was appropriate for this award. That's a difficult choice. The men and women of public safety in Sullivan County, from 911 to fire, EMS, police, across the board, our jail, do heroic things every day, do difficult tasks every day. To pick one person who would be eligible for this award was difficult. It's hard to single one out. But I will say, I think Blake Starner rose to that level. This last incident was particularly horrific and difficult to deal with. He did it in a professional manner that portrayed the professionalism of the sheriff's office and public safety in general in Sullivan County. And I think his demeanor all through the year and previous years, he deserves this award, and I would just like to thank him for his service to the people of Sullivan County and to our office. Blake, thank you.